Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And first of all, let me apologize for us starting late. We're actually trying to establish connection with our guest. She's been on transit for a while, so it's a bit difficult to get her internet to stay functional in where she's been. So we had to take a little more time to make sure she gets her internet fixed and get a good place to stay and have this interview. So apologies for us starting 30 minutes behind schedule. Thank you so much for the patience and joining us. This is a Tuesday's edition of Shagalinko TV, and you're welcome to this episode. It's a special episode because we are celebrating and also commemorating the International Women's Day, which happened yesterday, Monday, 8th of March 2021. And we just thought it wise to dedicate today's episode, which is Tuesday, to the International Women's Day celebration. Even though it was done yesterday, and I had a couple of programs that I also moderated for other organizations that celebrated the International Women's Day yesterday. It was like a 2-3 hours that we did yesterday, and today we just felt it's very important that we also talk more about some of the issues affecting women that may not always be on the front burner. So today we're looking at sanitation and gender. We're also looking at health and hygiene. So the comment section is there. You have questions, please drop them there. You have comments you want to share with us, please drop them on the comment section. We're streaming live on 3 destinations: on Shagalinko TV Facebook page, on Shagalinko YouTube page, and then on Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari page as well. These are the 3 destinations you can watch us right now. Also, do share the link to the video right now, the live video. You could share the links with your friends and loved ones. They can also watch the program right now and also interact with our guests and drop comments or questions for her, and she'll be replying. I have as my guest today Mrs. Julie Mogbo. She's the family bond nurse and co-founder of Royal Nursing Consult Nigeria, and together we'll be talking about some of these issues, and then you can join us and just let us know what you think. Okay, so let me bring her on, and then she'll talk with us. Hi, Julie.
Hello, how you doing? Good to see you.
Uh, I'm good. Happy
I
International
think,
Women's Day.
can you hear me well? I think there seems to be some connection
Yes, I
problem.
can. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay,
Okay. So happy International Women's Day. How was it like for you? How was the celebration yesterday for you?
so it was a moment. Thank you for that question, and thank you for celebrating women. It was a day of recalling the things that the people or the women who have done amazing things across fields. And somehow the two women that happen to be in the spotlight, like in the center of this whole celebration, most recently, is they are the Vice President of the United States of America, and then the first African female to head the World Trade, is it the World Trade Organization? So that's
Organization.
Ngozi, yes, Okonjo Iweala. So they have made the headlines, and discussions around their achievements has been ongoing across social media platforms. This suggests to everyone that women have no limits when it comes to climbing the career ladder, when it comes to the organizations in which they can operate. So they are not only meant for the domestic activities of the bedroom and the food matters, they can also be very useful and productive in the industrial setting, whether it's in the corporate environment, at the local, national, regional, or international level, regardless of their race. They can see the Vice President of the United States. She is Asian, I think it's South Asian American, and then the DG That's Okonjo Iweala. She is Nigerian American. So the limitations that people would have and say that I am not from this particular country, I'm not of this kind of color, it may they may use that as an excuse, but these two women have broken barriers. And these are just two because these are the recent achievements that we have seen. There are many others who have done amazing things in different industries. So yesterday for me was a moment of reflection, was a moment to encourage other women because some of them started saying, what have I achieved in life? Because you're looking at the women sitting on the board of banks, they're seeing women doing amazing things in First Bank, Access Bank, and all that. And they're wondering, what am I doing? So it was a moment for me to also encourage young women who feel they haven't achieved anything. And we should celebrate their little wins. And when they read of these women who have achieved a whole lot, when they read their success story, they will know that they have come a very long way. It didn't start all rosy. So another thing for me yesterday was to also encourage the men that if you are trying to impede the growth of the woman, you're actually undoing yourself and causing yourself to stagnate. So you need to give wings when necessary, put the support when necessary, celebrate their contributions, acknowledge their contributions, because we get to have women make certain contributions and it's as if it's unwomanly or is unexpected. A woman can't be that intelligent. So you have a woman displaying intelligence, it's not really regarded as if it's meant for the man. So I also used yesterday to encourage as many men as possible to give credit to whom credit is due. So if a woman brought the idea, I applaud her for it, recognize her for it, celebrate her for it, even if it's in the house, whether it's the man and the woman, husband and wife, because we usually have this narrative, even though you're the one who suggested it, your husband may not
Take it.
give you the credit, just take it like that, but it's wrong. These are the things we need to choose to challenge. So when people do things, celebrate them. It gives them the strength to do more. And of course, when we give women the opportunity, equal opportunity, they definitely will spread it. It's going to spread across the world because they are found in many places. They are found in different industries. So these are some of the things that we did yesterday. It was a great day for me, if you ask me.
Mm. Before we go on to talk about sanitation and gender, health and hygiene, I like to top up this ceiling of the IWD celebration with this question I'll ask you that a lot of people are celebrating the likes of Ngozi Wiala, the Vice President of America. How do we begin to replicate these efforts? How do we also begin to push for the girl child education to make sure that parents don't see their girl child as an exchange rate where she gets to some age, they are grooming her to get married at a tender age, and then her dreams are cut short, her own development or empowerment and contribution to the society is just relegated, and all they think is just get married, your brother can continue. Because even up till this development era, some parents still feel that when you empower a female child or you train a female child to go to school, she'll get married and the family name will get lost and all that. So where is the place of education, and how can African leaders begin to prioritize education, particularly for the girl child?
All right, so I would say that we are not where we used to be before. There have been some changes happening in the education sector, in the family setting, in the communities, and in the corporate settings as well. However, it is still a snail pace to where we are aspiring to be. So there's a need to do more. There's a need to have more hands on deck and go into the different areas where we have orientations and any form of education, where we have people in the society gather. We need to penetrate these areas and begin to let them understand how important it is to train the girl child. So let us begin from the smallest unit of the society, so which is the family. Where are they found? They are found in community meetings or groups. They are found in different organizations, religious organizations, in the market. They are found in these different places. So this calls for a collective work whereby the religious institutions start putting up programs, because when they speak from the pulpit, these words are taken hook, line, and sinker. So they have a crucial role to play in educating people on the importance of training the girl child. So we need to let them know that the girl child is as human as the boy child, and her brains are as capable as that of the boy child. It's only that opportunities aren't equal for her to express her God-given talent. Then we also need to move on to the media. The media has a critical role to play in this regard. We need the media to start portraying women in the light that they truly are. They are strong, they are capable, they are incredible, they are delectable, they are hardworking, they are enterprising. So the media has a huge role to play. Just imagine if Kamala Harris got this position as the vice president, and we didn't get to know about it in Africa. Look at Okonjo-Iweala. Let's assume that we didn't get to read of it in the news or on TV or on social media. That's how we're going to be left in the dark of what is possible and what is happening in other targets. So the media has a role to play in the programs that they feature, the movie industry as well. They have a critical role to play to stop portraying women as victims, stop portraying women as sexual objects, stop portraying women as low life humans. It should begin to portray them as hardworking. Let portray them as those that have dignity and believe in dignity of labor. So we should stop portraying women as those that use what we call bottom power, and they have brain power and they can use it. So that's the media has a role to play. That then the government has its own role to play. The government needs to ensure that policies are in place that gives room for gender equality. Policies are in place to rule out any form of bias as a result of gender. Policies are in place to reduce and put a total stop to gender-based violence. So this calls for all stakeholders. It's a collective responsibility. We can't do it on our own. We can't do it alone. And we cannot leave it to individuals alone. So corporate institutions need to come together to right all this wrong so that we can move and advance as a people and as a nation.
Thank you very much. In case you just joined us, this is a Tuesday's edition of Shagalinko, and this is also the special edition as we commemorate and celebrate the International Women's Day held yesterday, Monday, 8th March 2021. And we're talking with our guest, Mrs. Julie Mogbo, the family bond nurse, co-founder of Royal Nursing Consult Nigeria. We'll come back to you, Julie. Would like to, what's the connection between sanitation and gender? A whole lot is said, especially for people who live in the IDP camps, when there are security challenges, when there are issues in the country, when there are problems where people need to move from one place to another. People don't realize that a lot of women face more challenge than even the men folk. Talking about menstrual hygiene, talking about how women will even cater for their children to cook food when they are displaced or having to. We saw when there was erosion sometime in Kogi and people were displaced, not even out of insecurity, but you found people whose houses, especially in the Niger Delta, whose houses are washed off by erosion and a whole lot, and then they have to suffer a whole lot. So, what's the connection with sanitation and gender?
Okay, so there's a very deep connection when it comes to sanitation and gender. Reason being that the woman, that's the female gender, has a lot of things that require hygiene. So when it comes to her reproductive construction, her anatomical construction, we all know that women run a monthly cycle, so they undergo what we call menstruation every month. And because of the way the reproductive organ is anatomically constructed, they need to exercise hygiene of the highest form. possible. Other than, if not, they are prone to infection. They could acquire certain infections. So due to that, whether they are grown-up women or they are teenagers, they need access to clean water. So there's a thin line between sanitation and the female gender because of how important hygiene is to the health of the woman when she is single and when she's pregnant and when she has her baby to take care of as well. So that's the connection that people may not really see it like this. They just feel sanitation has to do with keeping your environment clean. But they need to understand how easy it is for the woman to come down with an illness, how easy it is for the baby to be affected by a dirty environment. Once we have this understanding, we would look at the issue of sanitation with a totally different perspective. I will take it a bit more seriously. They need to understand the harmful effects of not exercising pure hygiene.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Already getting messages here. This one says, "Good afternoon to your guest. Please help me ask her what is the role of men in making sure that women find hygiene issues easy, especially when it comes to menstrual cycle. How can men support their wives?" He or
Okay,
she didn't put
thank
the
you.
name. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so it's typical. I can try to understand the angle from where this question is coming from because when it comes to certain issues like this, more emphasis are made on the women. Women need this, women need to do that. Okay, so what is the role of the man? So I appreciate that question that was asked. So what can men do? What role can they play to ensure that women have access to clean water and clean environment and good hygiene? So here is the thing. For choice of living environment, the man needs to make sure that he's not choosing a location for selfish reasons. He sits down with his wife, for instance, and they put their heads together, weigh the pros and the cons. If we live in this environment, what are the benefits that come to us? What are the disadvantages are we going to experience? So when you outline these, you now look at the disadvantages. If it has to do with water, that's a top one because there are so many reasons for living in a particular place, for proximity to work and school environment for the children, for the kind of environment, whether it's a high-brow, low, or whatever, access to work, good roads, access to the market, security. So these are some of the reasons people would use or leverage to relocate or position in a particular area. But when it comes to the issue of hygiene, the man needs to ensure that the where we are living is neat enough, is clean enough. It's not a place that is not a place that is harboring insects like mosquitoes. Now that's a tough one because I don't know where in Lagos, for instance, that you cannot find mosquitoes. So they need to find an environment that is neat, that will not cause the illness of their family members. So they when taking a decision for where to live, they should consult their wives and take this decision together. Look at the positive and the negative sides to that decision. Where the negatives are higher, you might want to change. But where they can be manageable, then effort must be put in place to ensure that is done. Secondly, where they are in places or positions of policy making, they need to speak up for the good of the woman. They can't keep quiet and say it's women's business. If your wife falls sick, your mother falls sick, your sister falls sick, it's going to weigh on your pocket as a man, especially if you are the breadwinner. It's going to weigh on your pockets because you're going to be spending. You're not going to have peace of mind for while you're at work. Somebody is calling you, your mother is calling you, your sister is calling you. So look at the fight you're fighting for a woman. You're fighting it for your mother, you're fighting for your sister, you're fighting for your friend, you're fighting for your niece, you're fighting for the woman out there who will come in contact with your children at any point in time. So you're not fighting a cause for just one woman, you're fighting a cause for the nation, for the world at large. So they can come in areas of policy making, they can come in area of decision making, even within the home setting, in the community. These are things that they can do. Then of course, they can fund projects when women come up, when young people come up with projects in the community, they can fund it. If they can't go out and speak, there are people who are advocating for clean environment and access to clean water. What role men can play is to fund such projects for those who are philanthropists and they have the money. Look for projects that are going to do the woman good. This is not us looking for women empowerment in order to compete with the man. We are seeking and crying and calling out for these things so that we are better able to manage. We can't be disadvantaged because we are females. We can't face a disadvantage, short pay, short remuneration, no access to this, no ability to take decisions for ourselves because we are women. It's demoralizing. So we are just asking, don't deal badly with us because we are female. Let us have access to what we deserve as human beings.
Beans, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I'm getting so many messages here, and I'd like you to address them as we go on. But this is also to say that for our viewers, you could drop your message on the comment section and questions, comments, suggestions, and drop it there on the topic of discussion. We're looking at sanitation and gender. We're looking at health and hygiene. Just drop your comments there. We'll read them, or you drop it on the number that is scrolling on the screen, 08054383460. Questions for our guest, and she'll be responding to them. Let me ask you this before we come to Kelvin. Kevin Sunday sent a message here, but I'd like you to address this issue before we read Kelvin's message. A lot of times when we talk about gender, we also forget people living with disabilities, particularly for women. So, yeah, what a woman who is empowered or has have money will face. The challenge will be a bit different from a rural woman, and the challenge will be a bit different from a woman with physical disabilities or special needs, so to say. How do we also begin to integrate all of this? You find in public spaces where there are no provisions for people living with disabilities. I know some banks are doing it now and all that, but how do we begin to also include this category of people to make them to help them even feel loved and not begin to have a sense of being segregated and all that?
Okay, if I got the question correctly, because there was some interruptions there in the internet, but I guess you're asking about how we can include or make room for people with disabilities,
Yeah.
right? Great, thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
So I think it's still the same approach where we are making decisions, forming committees, establishing task forces and all of that. There's need to look into that team that is being formed. Is everyone from every group represented? They need to be ably represented. Check, I don't know what criteria is being used to select these officials to serve in these positions, different positions. We need to check their backgrounds, check their experiences, check their qualifications. Those who have been doing works regarding people with disabilities, bring them on board. So we are setting up a committee to look into or to review policies that are existing so that new ones can be made. Let's ensure that these different categories of people are represented. The interest of the child, the woman, and then people living with disabilities need to be factored in. The government can't do this alone. That's why it's important for them to be aware of what is going on in their environment. Be aware of the influencers of different human activities. Those who are pursuing the rights of children, those who are pursuing education, better education, those who are talking about the quality healthcare services, delivery, and access. Let's look at the people who are pursuing the cause of those living with disabilities. Let's identify these people. Let's bring them together and let's see how they can form or be part of a group or committee and then look into the cause of the people. This cannot be done. The government can't do this alone. So in order to involve them, just as we're talking about the women, just get people that are influencers in this field and involve them. Get them involved. Because before we realize it, if we don't do that, they're going to form a pressure group because people are really identifying these days in groups. There's so many groups that are coming up now. If the government doesn't take the lead or work with influencers that are taking responsibility, we might just be sitting on a gunpowder when they feel they've been segregated and they've been ignored for a very long time. Their approach may not be welcoming. But what would we do? So it's important for the whatever committee is being set by the government, task force, the committee, whatever group they're putting together, we should check and be sure that every group of people, men, women, children, those living with disabilities are able represented. I think that's the much of it. We can't overemphasize the need to have representatives of this group of people.
Okay, thank you. Please, if you can see this message, do read it from Kelvin Sunday. He's viewing us from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State.
So sanitation is the process of keeping your environment, your food, water, and your body clean. Note that cleanliness is next to godliness. Our health is in our hands, and we eat and take into our system. What we eat and take into our system can cause harm or good to our health. Thank you, Kevin, for that contribution. In making this contribution, I really like what he said. So it means it's a personal responsibility. I usually am surprised sometimes when we leave the issue of hygiene to the woman in the home. So it's her responsibility to ensure the food is clean, the environment is clean, the body is clean, and all that. It is everyone's responsibility. That's like a window to your system. You cannot delegate the responsibility of cleanliness to another person. How sure are you? Even though the person will do a good job, there are times the person could get tired. And you can miss some things. Exhaustion could make someone not make someone be blind to certain things. I think it's a collective responsibility. It's an individual responsibility where you, as an individual, male or female, is particular about the kind of environment in which you live in. Don't delegate that responsibility to somebody else. And even if you do, you still have a role to play, and which is the supervisory role. So you have to double check. For those who have house help, those who are living with domestic staff, and all of that, you don't just assign them responsibility and go cross your legs and go to sleep. You need to check for those who have children, families of childbearing age, that you need to check the lunch bags that these children go to school with. You need to check the kind of plates in which the fresh foods are served into. You need to check if the spoons that their cutlery they are given is clean. Because sometimes these homekeepers would just, out of tiredness or exhaustion, just package. And if you don't double check, check if the fruits your children are taking are properly washed. Yes, you have assigned that responsibility to someone, but the man and the woman of the house, these are your children. When they fall sick, it is not the nanny that is going to go to pay the bills. She's likely not going to be the one that will stay with the person in the hospital. You are going to be the one to have to take permission off work. You have to postpone that business meeting because your child is ill and someone has to be with the child in the hospital. So these have ripple effects when we don't take personal responsibility over things like this. So thank you, Kevin, for making that contribution. Let everybody take this as their own call to ensure that their food, their body, their environment is clean.
Okay. So let's also look at health and hygiene. I like the fact you talked about everyone's duty, and what also Kevin talked about, that cleanliness is everyone's priority. So how do we also begin to make sure that systems are in place? Our health infrastructures to be in place. Sometimes a lot of people say that why they don't go to the hospital is that you spend more hours queuing up to see the doctor. You could stay throughout the day. Some people complain of coming to the hospital at 5 a.m. and before it will get to their turn, it will be 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. and they are so exhausted from all of that. Some say it's even worse when, after doing all these long hours of trying to see the doctor, it gets to your turn, and then the prescriptions the doctors will write, it might either be out of stock and they are telling you to go buy it outside, or if there are five prescriptions, they will tell you two is available, three is not available, and all that. So you see them quickly patronizing either the quacks or pharmacy or something. So how do we also begin to hold government accountable to provide and make sure that the health infrastructure is in good place?
Okay, so that's a tall order, if you ask me, because COVID-19 has revealed to the government that our healthcare system is in a state of coma. I don't know what else they'll be looking for because some of them couldn't even access the quality care that they needed, especially during the lockdown. And when they had stopped the airports, everything was
Yeah.
on hold. So I don't know what else they need. The the other alternative here is for the constituents to hold their representatives accountable. So if there is heat from the constituents to their local representatives, then that will cascade to the highest authority. They will know that okay, things if the
True.
things can't remain the same, they're not as usual anymore. There's a need for them to put actions to words. It's not enough to keep promising. We want to see the changes. The primary healthcare system, that's where we can start from. People should be confident enough to approach these centers to have safe deliveries. We should have professionals handling these different healthcare responsibilities in these settings. They should have proper equipment that will be able to take care of the minor illnesses that come in. Then moving on to the secondary facilities and the tertiary facilities, we have to employ workers. Now, not that the government and don't realize these things, but the people themselves need to start holding their representatives accountable. Call them to order. Remind them constantly. If you have to send representatives from the community to visit them in their offices, let's do that. It's a collective thing. Everybody should get on. Otherwise, we're still going to be singing the same song years to come, and COVID will not be enough lesson for us to learn. Even at this time, we are not seeing speedy change in the way we run our healthcare system. I mean, it speaks about the kind of government and country that we have and the kind of environment in which we live in and what our priorities are. So people should hold their representatives accountable and keep pushing for their rights to quality
Mm.
healthcare.
Yeah, true, true. So you heard it. People should hold their leaders accountable, their lawmakers, their representatives, and all that. So it's not just the jamboree thing where they come home during Christmas or Salah celebrations and share rice, share maggi, and all that. They should also evaluate and tell their reps that look at what you promised, you haven't fulfilled all this, and the constituency project. Okay, this is a special edition celebrating and commemorating the International Women's Day. And I'd like to ask you, as a health practitioner, what are some of the things we as a society, we as individuals, we as a nation are not doing when it comes to pushing the female empowerment, the gender empowerment? What is wrong? We are quick to celebrate the likes of Ngozi Wiala. We're quick to celebrate the VP. We're quick to celebrate Amina Mohammed. But these people had support, people who were there to say, I will push you to the greatest height you want to go. How do we begin to also internalize this, that a young girl can grow up not being inhibited, not feeling that because she's Nigerian, because she's a female, because she comes from this place, so she's limited? How do we begin to break such barriers as we celebrate going forward the IWD?
Okay, so I think that we need to revisit our school curriculum and make it more robust. We need to change that educational sector and how we run it. That's the truth. What we should ask ourselves the question: are we grooming our children? Are we training them? What are we training them to become? What positions are we training them to occupy? Is our program or curriculum sufficient to make them compete with their contemporaries anywhere in the world? These are pertinent questions we should ask ourselves. So a revisit to our curriculum has to be done, and urgently so, because if we do not do this, other kinds will come and take our children from us, and they'll do better in other environments. We need not be told. There are so many people out there who were once here. I know of my colleagues who there was one that was here. She did something and wasn't really recognized in her facility. tertiary institution where she was working. The minute she stepped into Ireland, under how many months, she was given an award. Then she was facilitated, she was scared that she's been called to facilitate a particular program. So these things happen. We need to revisit our curriculum across levels, beginning from the nursery schools. So the textbooks that authors are writing, I see some textbooks and I just shake my head. I say, I wouldn't want my child to be in this kind of a school. So let's look at the textbooks that are being churned out. What content are we feeding our children with? Where they believe that it's daddy that goes to work and mom stays home to wash. And the boy can go and play, whereas the girls have to help their mom in the kitchen. So these are subtle ways that we are already conditioning our children on how not to become like Okojo Iweala and Kamala Harris and the likes of them, Condoleezza Rice, mention them all over. So we need to look into the very content that children are being fed with on a daily basis. Then the activities in schools should, it's okay to do the ballet, it's okay to do taekwondo and all of that, but let us look at programs that will groom our children to become entrepreneurs, to become captains of industries. Let them start developing interest in different fields. I like the fact that many of our children are coding now. I like the fact that we're talking about artificial intelligence and all that. Our children are smarter than us already. My 7-year-old, the way he will navigate my phone, I'm wondering if the school environment is good enough. We should make these things available at a basic level. If you want to expose your children to this high level of intelligence, parents will have to literally pay through their noses so that their children can have this good and quality education. But what happens to those who can't afford it? Let the government sit up. Let funders sit up. Let's see how we can introduce these programs into our public schools and into and support the average private schools as well. From there, we know that we are conditioning our children, we are grooming, we are training them to become competent or competitive in their different fields of choice. We cannot play small anymore. If not, we're going to lose our brain because already we are losing them. We have people who are intelligent, but somehow they feel frustrated and they step out. And it's sad that once you step out to another country, the government of that country, the system recognizes you, they celebrate you, and the next thing you're going to hear is the National Assembly inviting, oh, we have seen your good works. We are looking forward to you, to welcoming you on so day or something like that. We've had people lash out at certain leaders. They don't claim what you have not done. Don't glory in what you have not labored in. So I think with the education sector is a critical aspect of our collective development in glory. That has to be looked into.
Okay, this one is from Nura Ibrahim. He says, "Hi, my name is Nura Ibrahim, and I'm watching from." Okay, Nura, we need you to let us know all that. But anyway, he just said to say that he's watching us. Nura, please, your message came in a bit. I think maybe it got truncated. Please do send the full version so we could read it out here. Thank you so much. But all the same, thanks for joining us. This one is from, it says, "Hi, my name is Chukuma. I'm watching live from Owerri, and I'd like to say kudos to your guest. My own is to say congratulations to all women as it celebrates the International Women's Day. But what I'll also like to urge them is women should also support their husbands. Not every time that the man needs to support the woman. Sometimes when the woman is capable, she also has to support her husband. That way, there'll be ease in the family." Chukuma.
Yeah, Chikuma is very correct. That's what we've been saying. So I think the call would be for the man because ever since from decades ago, I was a child, I kept hearing, woman do this for your husband, woman do this because of the husband, this, that because of the husband. We hear that over and over again. The city has even cracked. But now the game is changing. So we're asking, and when they do this, when they started the woman with this much responsibility, she's still unable to do as much. And that's how we have so many women die as a result of depression. That should be checked. They die as they suffer depression. Let's put it like that. They suffer depression more. The statistics as of the last time that I checked said that more women suffer depression than men, yet more men die from depression than women. So what does that tell us? Women are able, because they've been conditioned right from time. Take it. I mean, that's your life. I mean, you're a woman. That's what God has given you grace for. You have the grace to endure. Oh, that is how men are. So the woman has been conditioned and programmed to bear her cross, whether it is interesting or not, whether it is palatable or not. Take it, it's your cross. Whereas the man was groomed to believe that you're a leader, you can make things work. They were not kind of trained to be as resilient. So when they meet a roadblock, the tendency for them to fall back and not rise again is very high. That's why I think one of the reasons that that statistic shows that men die more out of depression, because that resilience isn't built as much for them to bounce back. So talking about is not all the time men will support the women. I think that that is something that addresses a minute fraction of people. So generally speaking, it is more of a call to the man to push his wife, even when the wife is not willing to do as much as possible, because that's what our mothers suffered it. Many women have to give up their career because they had to train their children. There's an option for job promotion. The woman has to let go and the husband is promoted. There are opportunities, even till now, there are women, young women, I'm wondering, is this still happening in this age, where a man is asking his wife not to work, my money is sufficient to take care of us. It's not about the money alone. It's about the woman using her brains, because what you do not use, you lose it eventually. And she cannot operate at the same frequency as her husband if she does not expose herself to knowledge, to requisite knowledge. So it's important for the man push, support, fund, empower the women in your life, not just your wife. Empower the women in your life, and you will see the turnaround. Except those exceptional cases, well, let's say exceptional cases, those the selected cases where the woman either for to want to do a payback or revenge or something. It is rare to find a woman who is empowered and will not want to spread and affect or impact the people around her. It is rare. You find a woman who deliberately does not want to help. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. Something definitely has gone wrong somewhere. On the average, the woman will want to share, the woman will want to give up, the woman will want to support to her own detriment. That is how we are trained. We are trained to tie, our mothers were trained to tie one wrapper while their children wore clothes. They were trained to not eat, to go to bed hungry while their children were fed. So this is how we were trained, and they passed it on to us. When we are choosing not to pass the same thing to our children, yes, it's going to be sacrificial, but you can do that from the place of power, not from the place of poverty. So you can have enough and still make sacrifices, not from the point where you don't have at all and you are forced to make sacrifices. So it's a good one. Let the man first support his wife and the women in their lives. And of course, women, people. It's a call that you are empowered doesn't make you a lord over other human beings. That you are favored or you are privileged doesn't make you have power over other human beings. The greatest power is the power over self. Is not the power you exhibit or show over another person. So I know that that's a PM for some men. They feel that woman has more money than myself. She's not going to respect me anymore. She's not going to do this anymore. She's not going to be teachable anymore and all that. But somehow it's not absolute. If you check, it's probably coming from a low self-esteem of the man. Not in all cases though. But at the end of the day, every human being has a right to flourish in every aspect, physically, mentally, financially. So we cannot deny them these rights just because of their gender.
Okay. I'll take one more message before we wrap up the show. And Nura has sent back the message. It says, "Hi, my name is Nura Ibrahim. I'm watching you from Duse, Jigawa. My question to your guest is, what can Northern women do to boost their self-confidence and become more empowered?"
Very valid question. Very valid question. Thank you so much for asking that question. One of the things that women can do is for the older women to first of all reassess how they have lived their lives and how it has helped them. So the older women, check your life. How happy are you that you didn't go to school? How happy are you that you're not socializing with your folks, with your friends? How happy are you that you are not contributing to the society? If you feel sad and it's affecting you, then don't teach it to your daughters. Don't teach it to your grandchildren. Own up to your responsibilities and your mistakes. Tell yourself, tell your children, tell your grandchildren, I didn't go to school and I don't think it's right. I need you to go to school. If we don't, there are so many things our mothers didn't tell us, and we're discovering ourselves, and we're not happy about. So let our mothers, their mothers have the responsibility to tell us the truth. Because we're trained to believe that your life is all about your marriage, your life is all about your husband. Whatever it is that he says is what you should stand by. But sometimes, if we go by that, then we are not the right helpers for our husbands. Because helpers are there to check, to guide, to lead, to support, to influence in a positive way. So let our mothers own up to their faults and tell it to their daughters and their granddaughters. Then for the younger women, watch programs. You have access to the internet. Go on YouTube. When you're watching, don't just watch all the ones, the girls that are dancing and they're choreographers for singers and all of that. There are so many programs that you can learn from to boost your confidence. There are books that you can read. There are groups that you can get involved with that will boost your confidence, because confidence is key. So if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, identify a group. So long as you have a group of women, you can send somebody a message on social media who you have been following and has been doing something good that you like. Tell them, I have 10 women, or I have access to 15 women. I need you to come and talk to us. They can do that on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is like the easiest platform that you can, even if it's one person that has the WhatsApp, there's so many content that can be put on that WhatsApp. It can be translated to languages that you will understand. Gather your women and let them listen to you. There's so many things that actually can be done to boost the confidence of the northern woman. And of course, I'm sure they can
Okay.
contact your ambassador. You're doing amazing things with women. So you can be contacted, and let's see how we can help the northern women build their confidence.
Sure. Sure. Thank you so much. So, as we wrap up, what's your final word of encouragement as we celebrate the International Women's Day? What do you hope to see, and what do you hope women should accomplish before the next one, so that we can now begin to monitor and evaluate between now and then, so it doesn't just come as a one-off celebration where we do all the paparazzi, make all the shout outs about it, and then we go back to the same status quo and we're coming back into it. So what should we practically, what was a word, a message of hope to women, that they must begin to consciously walk that path, so that by 2022, when we evaluate the year before, we'll see that okay, it's a giant leap towards development.
Okay, so one thing I'm going to tell women is that they should celebrate their little wins. Don't wait to acquire a degree. If your hands and your capacity can accommodate a certificate program, go ahead and do it. Learn a skill. Don't despise the little beginning. If you have to pick a skill on how to make confectionaries, how to cook, not just to cook, how do you package it, how do you present it? Learn an additional skill. Find a way to monetize that skill. When you make the money, when you start making the money, if you're married, buy something for your husband. That way he's not going to be scared to say, this woman is making too much money and she's going to start disrespecting me. Use that money and add value to your home. Add value to your community. Add value to somebody. Do something about it. It's important for you to do so. It shows that you have a heart to spare. That's where you will get much support, because sponsors are out there. They're looking out for you. So as a woman, please seek to add a feather to your heart, no matter how small. And do not despise the days of your little beginning. Then when you see other women, help them. Because it's actually a tough call. So if a younger girl comes to you asking for help, do all that you can to support them. Then in your homes, teach your sons to respect their sisters, teach your daughters to respect their brother. Teach them to do things together. Teach them to learn together. Do not say this is for boys and this is for girls. Let them learn. And that way they'll begin to show or express their special talent. You know how to channel it. But that's stereotyping about domestic chores and all of that, that should stop. So next year you want to see that there's equality in your home. Begin from your home. That's among your male children and your female children. Let them learn to make their beds together. Let them learn to sweep the floor, keep the environment clean. Something that the boy and the girl should learn. Then build their capacity as well. Develop yourself. And once you do something, just mitigate. Know the husband you're married to for those who are married. If you know that your success is going to intimidate him, find a way to manage it. Seek counsel. Don't go and study and get a certificate and come back and tell your husband, oh, I've now gotten a job somewhere. You just might be wasting your time. So find a coach, find a counselor that you're going to work with as you strive to advance in your career. And then, of course, counsel is always available everywhere. Ambassador Emmanuel is there to guide you through. He has access to so many coaches, so he can as well put you through. Thank you.
Wow. So, yeah. So, finally, who would you like to greet? Who are organizations you partner with? Who support your work? Who are the people you want to greet as we do the IWD? Who generally you're free to use a minute or two to greet all the people, organizations, and colleagues that have been supportive in your line of duty.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are so many platforms that have given me the opportunity to share and speak to their audience. I've done that. I'm not going to mention a particular parish, but the Redeemed Christian Church as a whole, that I've had the opportunity to work on their platform. I have also worked on the Real platform. It's a youth organization that started in Abuja. It's grown really big now. And then I also want to applaud the Lagos State College of Medicine, Lagos State College of Medicine. They started an entrepreneurial program for the nursing students, and the nursing department constitutes more of females. So already the nurses are learning how to become entrepreneurs, how to start a business even while they're in school. So I was called upon to facilitate, and we have put together. I co-authored a book for the students, and that's amazing. So that's a shout out to them to keep the work going. Then Lead North Africa is another organization that have been doing amazing things in the community, and of course in the professional setting, talking about the hospitals. And then the Banky Wellington organization as well. We've done amazing things across 13 communities in Lagos State on the island, and then there are plans to do more. So these are a few organizations. Abiding Ladies, I can't mention Women of Wisdom that started in Lagos, but they have over 300 members across the world. What am I talking about? Okay, 300 members, but followers runs into thousands. That's Women of Wisdom organization. So these are a few organizations that have done amazing things. And for those who might just be wondering, I'm actually in a public place, sort of, and I have a bit of cold, so I had to wear the mask, which makes it easier to prevent me from sneezing and coughing. For those who might be wondering what's going on. So thank you so much, Emmanuel. I also want to thank you for making your platform available for us to learn, for me to be able to share knowledge with people. So this last shout out goes to the Shagalinku TV for all the work that you're doing and propagating the gospel of optimizing human function. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julie, for everything. And yes, we want to thank everyone who joined us. We want to thank everyone, particularly we're celebrating the women as well. It's the International Women's Day edition, even though it held yesterday. But even the month of March is regarded as the International Women's Month. So we will be doing a whole lot across this month. And like I said earlier on, even 2 weeks ago, that will be bringing Mrs. Julie a lot of times to talk about issues affecting women and also the COVID-19 vaccine and all that. So we probably will bring her before the end of the month to also talk about her views concerning the distributions, the arrival, what she thinks about all that. So we'll be bringing her maybe before the end of the month to also take a look at what she thinks about the distributions and how women can also assess that and all that. So I want to thank everyone who joined us, and apologies once again for us starting 30 minutes behind schedule. Sometimes these things happen, especially with network. And you can see our guest, she had to look for somewhere else to join us from. So we really, really thank you, Mrs. Julie Mogbo. So in case you just joined, you missed quite a lot, but the video is there. We streamed live, or we're still streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, and it's at Shagalinko TV. So the videos are there. You could just watch after the show. Still drop your comments, and we'll pass them on to our guest. And then if there are responses, she'll do all that when we come back. Or bring her back another time. On Saturday's edition, we'll be looking at how businesses are responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, how entrepreneurs are able to um, leverage on all of that, count their losses, and work towards perfection in business. And we'll be bringing our guest, Mrs. Juka, all the way from the Gambia, to talk about all of that and share her experience on what she thinks, and how she's been coping. You know, a lot of people took monies from the bank to invest in their business. A lot of people had to gather all their savings together in 20 at the beginning of 2020, and they didn't know or never saw or never felt a lockdown will come and a national or international crisis will come where everyone would have to be locked down at home, and then all the money is just gone into all the businesses and all that. So we'll be using that opportunity to also ask business people that how have they been coping, how have they been faring, you know, are the banks still charging you in spite of all the issues and all that, and how can they leverage on lessons learned and moving forward. So this is what we'll be doing on the Saturday's edition. We'll be bringing Juka all the way from the Gambia to share her story and also help young entrepreneurs walk through what they can do to leverage on that. But once again, thanks, Mrs. Julie Mogbo, the family bond nurse and co-founder of the Royal Nursing Consult Nigeria. And thanks to everyone who joined us. Sorry, I know a lot of people missed out on the time. Some had started calling since 2 o'clock and been asking why we're not on air and all that. So maybe that was why we didn't get a lot of messages today. But not to worry, this is what we go through all the time. Once in a while, you never can really tell with internet connection. But hey, the video is here. Like I said, you can watch the full episode after the program. Once again, thank you, Mrs. Julie, for joining us. And thanks to everyone who joined. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, urging you to have a beautiful Tuesday until we see you on Saturday, God willing. Enjoy yourself and stay safe and stay blessed. God bless you all. Bye bye.